In the last days of Alexander the Great, he was believed to have fallen ill after a prolonged period of heavy drinking and intense physical activity. As his condition deteriorated, he began to experience fever, severe abdominal pain, and the loss of his ability to speak. Despite the efforts of his doctors, Alexander's health continued to worsen until he passed away on June 10, 323 BC in Babylon at the age of 32. His death caused great turmoil and uncertainty about the future of his empire, which he had conquered and expanded over the course of his remarkable career. It is a well-known fact that Alexander the Great was one of the greatest military strategists of all time and managed to conquer huge parts of the ancient world. However, despite his many victories, Alexander's last days were filled with tragedy and suffering. It all started towards the end of August in the year 323 BC, when after a long night of drinking and celebrating, Alexander developed a high fever that left him delirious and bedridden. The young conqueror was just 32 years old at the time, but his body had already been through a lot. Besides the grueling battles and expeditions, Alexander was also known for his excessive drinking habits, and it has been speculated that his heavy alcohol intake caused liver damage and ultimately led to his untimely death. Unable to get out of bed, Alexander became paranoid and started seeing visions of his enemies and friends plotting against him. He began to suspect that one of his most trusted officials, Antipater, was behind his illness and ordered his immediate execution. However, as the days went by, Alexander's condition worsened and he became increasingly irrational and violent. He ordered several of his generals and close associates to be executed, accusing them of treason and plotting to overthrow him from his throne. At this point, it was clear that Alexander was not going to recover, and his generals began to make preparations for his succession. Although he did not have a clear heir, Alexander's closest advisors decided to keep his death a secret until they could decide on the best course of action. After much debate, it was decided that Alexander's half-brother Philip III Aridaeus would be crowned the new king of Macedon and Greece, while Alexander's son Alexander IV would be appointed as the new ruler of Asia. However, the transition of power was not smooth, and several of Alexander's generals began to quarrel over the same territories and provinces. At one point, there were even rumors that Alexander's mother Olympias was planning a coup d'état to take over the throne. Meanwhile, Alexander's funeral was conducted in grand style, with his body being laid out in state on a golden chariot and paraded through the streets of Babylon. The entire city was in mourning, with thousands of people coming out to pay their respects to the fallen hero. After the funeral, Alexander's body was to be transported back to his homeland in Macedonia, but this journey proved to be just as tumultuous as his life. Several of his generals and soldiers were attacked by local tribes along the way, and it is said that some of the soldiers even resorted to cannibalism to survive. Finally, after months of travel, Alexander's body was laid to rest in a grand tomb in the heart of Macedonia. Despite his many enemies and tumultuous end, Alexander the Great remained one of the greatest military leaders of all time, with his legacy surviving even to this day.